Welcome, everybody. We have Priya Tronsgard here from Edify Learning Spaces. How are you doing today, Priya?
Great. I'm so happy to be here and thank you for giving me this opportunity today.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. Absolutely. So why don't you start off with, Priya, what do you guys do over at Edify Learning Spaces?
Thank you. So, Edify Learning Spaces is a one-on-one custom tutoring agency.
Mhm.
We are Canada's leading tutoring agency for neurodivergent kids. So, kids who are profoundly gifted, autistic, ADHD, dyslexic, unmotivated, whatever they may be, we have a
Mhm.
custom way to help them.
Oh, phenomenal, phenomenal. How long have you been working in this space for?
So I created an inclusive education facility in 2016. And during the pandemic, before the pandemic, I thought I could expand on that facility with an after-school childcare program. I had a space ready. I signed the lease documents. It was March 3rd, 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And I had 10 days to renegotiate, and I did. So I got out of that lease and pivoted to Edify Learning Spaces being a tutoring agency in August 2020.
Okay.
So it's been running since August 2020, but my um, experience in the education field is over 25 years now.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So it was initially going to be a learning space to work with kids like in person, a facility, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. And then you transition to now you guys do everything online, or is there some in person as well?
There's some in person.
Okay.
So, for example, if somebody needs help with handwriting and they've got, issues with their handwriting output, that's something you can try to do it online, but we can go in. And right now, our specialized tutors are only in the Lower Mainland
Okay,
for
gotcha.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to expand. I mean, these are my dreams, right? So my dreams are coming true, and it's just wonderful to see it happen. But I would also like to, stretch that dream to across North America.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you were saying handwriting, are you talking about cursive or printing?
Just printing. There's
Okay, gotcha.
there's kids who are so intelligent, but when their teacher, this happens around grade two, their teacher asks them to write something, and you can't really get the essence of what that child can express
Mhm.
because they just get so frustrated with printing. They don't
Yeah,
want to write it. And then you lose the child, and then they're off in outer space, and then that's a wasted mind, and we don't want that.
of course.
So yeah, there's a lot of kids who stopped believing in themselves, and so that's our big thing. We get them to believe in themselves and get them to practice growth mindset. And every failure is an opportunity to learn. So those kids are kids after 3 months. That's our offer right now. We get your child learning and getting to love learning in 90 days.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this. What kind of customers do you generally deal with? Like, will it be a specific age range of students? Do you try to work with schools? Is it just parents in general?
So right now, I have a wonderful mentor. Actually, she has a business that's geared to the same demographic, and she's
Mhm.
been running for 30 years. She has 30 locations.
Awesome.
So yeah, so when I spoke with her, and I speak with her monthly, basically we work on word of mouth. So our ideal customer is a parent who has values that are really high in terms of education, and they know that their child has better potential that they're not reaching in the typical school market. So, school system. So it's really important to know that the parents who are seeking us out are the ones that are looking for something else that's not being provided at school. So it's a specialized market.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I just also want to say I recently wrote a book called Radically Reframe.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it's a parent guide, so it's available on Amazon too. But I wrote that as a guide for parents. A lot of parents who have kids who are neurodivergent don't really know how to navigate the system.
Yeah,
So yeah, so I train the tutors and then I provide some support to the parents as well.
amazing. Yeah, because even for us, like with the work that we do with business coaching, oftentimes it's just like they don't know those resources are there. right? They're sitting
Yeah.
there. I'm sure it's the same for you guys. You know, those
Mm.
parents are sitting there with those problems. They're dying for a solution, but they don't have one, not knowing that those resources are like available to them. So absolutely, no.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I just want to say your child's not lazy,
Mhm.
right? Or your child's not unmotivated, or your child is going to come around. Like we've got them, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like they don't know, like what you're saying, they don't know that this can really happen. I think they might think that it's not true. And so you kind of have to change the parent mindset too. So that's an opportunity there.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing you guys work alongside both the child and the parent then in that case.
That's right. So the tutor works directly with the child, and then I help with parent education as well. And I take it as a good sign when parents see me a few years later and they cry when they see me and they say, "You changed my life," and I know that it's impactful and meaningful, and that's why I do what I do.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Now, you were kind of mentioning how COVID caused you guys to pivot quite a bit. What kind of considerations did the pandemic make like completely necessary for you guys to function? Like, of course, I'm assuming working virtually.
Yeah, well, the whole business model changed.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So it went from after school care with a brick and mortar. I'd love a brick and mortar still. Like still
Yeah.
I would love to have that, but we just changed to online, and we focused in on kids who needed more support because those are the kids that are being left behind. Whereas the model before was just all kids after school because that was a big problem too. Parents
Yeah.
weren't able to pick up their kids by 3 o'clock, so they need an after school care. So now the whole model is changed because parents aren't rushing home, rushing to school to be there by 3 o'clock because they have different work schedules. And so that has completely changed because of the
Oh, I
parent
guess
side.
so. I actually never even considered that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. So that
Yeah.
might have been a huge vulnerability that your business could have faced potentially. That was
Uh-huh.
that was completely avoided because you guys were on. I didn't even think of that. Wow, absolutely.
I know. I'm happy I when I made that decision to back out, it was because I was trying to get that space for 10 years. Like I was
No way.
saving and like, yeah, and it was a big plan for me. And I got money from the bank, and it was something I'd always thought I wanted more than
Mhm.
anything else. And now, because of the pandemic, I had this opportunity, and it's better and like wilder and like more successful than I could have ever imagined. I would never have planned this if it wasn't for the pandemic. So I'm going to take that horrible time and switch it and flip it and make it.
100%. Well, that's
Yeah.
what business owners do. That's what entrepreneurs do. I mean, that's exactly what we've seen with, even a lot of our clients moving through this time. It's the ones that came out on top. They absolutely did that. Now, I did have an additional question alongside that. Do you guys predominantly work with like North American based students, or are these just anywhere in the world as long as you speak English, or like how does that
Yeah, I mean, I think so, with the idea that we're working specifically with kids who are diagnosed.
go? Hmm.
Right. So they may be diagnosed, and that's not very available all around the world on the same. But we do have some students who are, profoundly gifted in Singapore, and they, their parents have different needs than the parents who are here. So
Yeah, for sure.
because it's customized, it's fine. But yeah, I'd love to expand in Singapore as well, or anywhere where people have their children diagnosed, right? So that kind of limits the type of kids and families that we get.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, that's incredible. Um, Now, I'm assuming this is your first business, Priya.
Well, actually, I started working on my first business. This is an interesting question. So, my mom passed away when I was 12. So, my brother, my dad, and I had to hustle in order to keep our home,
Oh,
because the bank does not care. So, my dad encouraged us to work alongside with him with his sound and mobile DJ company. And I started DJing. So, at first, I was just like hooking up the audio equipment and moving speakers at 3 in the morning, for moving it back to storage.
yep.
And then I learned how to do all that. I had a great appreciation for music and started DJing when one of his DJs didn't show up. And so a year later, after doing all that legwork, I started to DJ and then expanded the business to photography, video editing.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was really happy to do that.
How old were
So
you when you were doing this?
13, but I
Wow.
started, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's all because of my dad, such an entrepreneur, but we did it out of survival. So I think,
totally.
you wouldn't have like put a child into that situation. And then, he purchased a childcare facility. So I got all
Oh,
of that information while I was going to school and while I went to UBC and got my degree in psychology. I was still learning alongside that. So I guess you could say I was running businesses, family businesses for a while. He also had like a jewelry store, and then
wow.
yeah, and then he that was quite common, I think, like for Indian diaspora at the time. My family's from Fiji, and so when he was he immigrated here in the 70s. So there were pivots in the business, and we just kept pivoting businesses and growing businesses as the years went by. So no, this is not my first business.
No, that's amazing. The reason I ask is I was actually going to say, what's been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner? You might have a couple, so feel free to say a few if you have a few.
Yeah, so I because I got into it as such a young age,
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to work for the Forum for Women Entrepreneurs. I had graduated from university and worked for the Tokyo Board of Education, went overseas and learned a little bit more about other systems of education while I was enjoying my youth. And then when I came back, I worked for the Forum for Women Entrepreneurs and got a position as a business advisor
Nice.
and a self-employment program. And what I picked up then is very different from what I picked up. So it's a lot of information. What I picked up from my family business and my father was do whatever it takes, talk to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Right. And try to be like happy, right? So I learned that from my dad. And so then after that, when I came back, I learned about business plans and the importance of business plans
yeah,
and having that vision. And then during my time as a business advisor, I launched hundreds of businesses. What I learned was that your financials and doing your financials yourself and knowing how that model works
Mhm.
is really important, can save you years um, of loss from your business.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I guess, yeah, there's two. It's like heart and head, right? So have your heart in it, but also like use your head with your financials and see like, am I actually making money? Am I billing on time? Are people paying me? What am I
Yes.
doing? Right? Like, so those kinds of things, I think those are my biggest practical learnings. And then there's additional things. So like me having a mentor, that's really useful. Belonging to a networking group where people help you and you're part of
Absolutely.
a community. I think those are the big takeaways and reduce the chance of failure.
For sure. No, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's an incredible learning lesson because it's honestly a lot of what that those are the exact things that we reiterate to our clients as well as those exact things. Like 100%, you have to know your numbers. That's the lifeblood of your business is the numbers, right? If you don't know if you're even making profit on some of your products, a couple of years go by, inflation changes, and you might not be, right? Are you getting paid on time? Absolutely, that's one of the most important ones. Or can you lessen that time so you get paid faster, right? All those different aspects are so huge, all the way down to having a good group of people around you, whether that's a networking group, a coach, a mentor. Phenomenal. I love that. So those are some fantastic learnings. Um, Priya, any say somebody's looking, say they have a child and they're actually wanting some more some work or to work with you and get in touch with you guys. What's the best place for them to touch base with you guys or get involved or get in contact with you?
Thank you so much. Yes, so they can go to my website.
Mhm.
So it's Edify Learning Spaces, EDIFY Learning Spaces, and it my contact information is on there. I talk to parents who still don't know if there's something different about their child.
For sure.
So I talk to them for that, with that, I change their life in 20 minutes. And then they come back to me years later and say, okay, now I'm ready for a tutor. I want my child to excel. I want them to be a leader. I don't want them to have issues fitting in at school because they're not confident.
For sure.
And so that's how I help them. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's navigating that space. thinks their child is lazy, thinks their child is naughty, I got you.
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely. One of the other things that I was actually going to say is, um, one of the not old mentors, one of the guys I used to follow quite a bit, he used to say, kids these days aren't lazy, they're uninspired. That's what he used to say. And I think,
Yes.
that's absolutely, it encompasses a lot. Sometimes, just like with business owners, you just need to know there's a light somewhere at the end of the tunnel, and somebody say, hey, here's a path to that light. Like, would you like to get up and get it? And they say, by all means, absolutely, I would love to. Right. So it sounds like that's what you're providing to these kids, which is amazing.
It's definitely my life purpose, and I feel so strongly about it. And I just know that I can change lives, and I think that's the thing. Like I know the results, I see it, and so that's where my confidence comes from. And I'm so happy to share that with everyone else.
Amazing, amazing. And we're on to the last question here, Priya, and
Mhm.
it's a big one. It is, what is most inspiring to you today?
Well, okay, obviously my kids.
For sure.
I have to say that.
Absolutely.
They're both neurodivergent, and they teach me so much every
Oh, your
day.
own kids.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you meant the kids at your school. No, absolutely, absolutely.
them too.
Of course, of course.
Oh my, okay, so like without giving away any information, but we've had kids who don't have a place there. They don't have a place to live. Their parents are not in the picture anymore.
Mhm.
They're in the downtown east side. These kids uh change homes every few years. They can't read by the time they're 12. 3 months with the right person and they're reading. Like
Amazing. Yeah.
it's like there's another child. The child had surgery and had their brain surgery. They're not going back to school now. They're not going back to regular school. But we found a way to work with that student
Wow.
and make them feel confident. And the mom is so smart. She's like, teach my child about interest rates, teach my child about money. That's all I want my child to know. And the child's going for therapy. The child is trying to become an actor during the
Wow.
day.
Yeah.
They've left the school system and they just focus on the things they want to focus on. So I have all kinds of kids. That's so inspiring. And I see that, like, I know I sound like full of, but I just
No, you
see.
don't. Not at all. You actually sound very passionate. I'll be honest. You do.
Oh, thanks. Like, yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm talking like in an infomercial, but I am really that excited when I see those kids succeed in less than 3 months. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not saying it happens to every child, but for most kids, I see this huge change. And then I get to practice all the things that I talk about with my own kids. And yeah, I'm not gonna cry, but they show me how impactful all the work that I'm doing, how impactful it really is, because they have struggles, their own differences, and I just see so much improvement in what they can do, and I think the sky's the limit. And so if I'm seeing that for my own kids, I see it for everyone else's.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like I said, you don't sound like you're an infomercial. I know what you feel like, because I'm sure how business owners feel when I talk about business coaching. So I can relate.
Yeah,
That's
because you're changing their life, right? And
100%.
you're going to make them
Yeah.
work for themselves and have the life that they want and not be tied to a 9 to 5 where someone's telling them they didn't do a good job. Like
Mhm.
you,
Or
you
tied to their
know,
business.
oh yeah, that too, right?
Yeah.
Their business can change their, like, if it's run properly, that
Mhm.
you know. So right, and you got to keep trying, and sometimes you give up.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's the one of the biggest parts that you were kind of alluding to, having a good community or having a good people around you. Sometimes the it's to get through those times where, like, sometimes stuff doesn't work. Like, that's just a
Mhm,
reality of any kind
mhm.
of coaching, mentoring, or progress of progressing through anything, right? And just having a group there to say, you know what, sometimes things don't work. We're just gonna get up and try something else, right?
Exactly. And the pandemic taught us that
100%.
too, right? Like, okay, that didn't work. So how can I turn this around in with the lowest cost and the biggest impact?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Doing your
Well,
show, doing this. This is part of it, right?
oh,
Like,
100%, 100%.
right? Meeting like-minded people, being on the right platforms, right? So I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, we'll definitely, absolutely. And like I said, we will include all your info below for any parents or anybody that wants to get in touch with you guys and, start learning with Edify Learning Spaces.
Thank you. I can't wait.